Here comes the bad news, Lewis. In the NFL, the first massive quarterback injury, and this one is such a shame. Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who has looked so good through this camp, who had appeared had a really good chance to be the Vikings' Week 1 starter, has a meniscus tear in his right knee. It will require surgery this week. Adam Schefter with more on what is ahead for the rookie QB.
They're going to perform surgery on J.J. McCarthy's right knee, on his torn meniscus. And whether they decide to trim or repair that meniscus will determine whether it is a shorter or longer time period for which J.J. McCarthy will be sidelined. Obviously, one scenario, fairly short, multiple weeks. The other longer one is something the Viking fans don't want to think about. The question is, how extensive is the damage and what they need to do to actually either trim or repair it, and that will determine how long the rookie first-round draft pick will be sidelined and when he'll be able to play, if he'll be able to play again this season.
That's the important point. What he said there that they don't want to consider is a season-ending injury or surgery. Again, before the season begins, he threw 2 touchdown passes in his preseason debut the other day. He may very well have been trending towards starting, although we've been hearing good things about Sam Darnold coming out of that camp. Kmart, can you add anything here? It's just awful.
It's terrible for the rookie quarterback. Here's the reality. What the basis of what Schefter is saying is everything is up in the air. They have no idea. It's hard for the Vikings to know what comes next because you have an injury that you don't know the extent of, and you don't know the injury timeline for recovery. So you can't make any determinations. All we know for a fact now is that it's Sam Darnold's job, and we'll figure out what the issue is with JJ in a matter of days, weeks.
Yeah. So, Lewis, as you and I were talking this morning, you were making the point, if you're in that staff meeting, yesterday or whenever it was that they got this news, what is that moment like?
It's just a gut punch. Look, I know that the prevailing talking points will be, well, it's next man up. It's Sam Darnold's time. He was a former number 1 pick. He's got a great supporting cast around him. It's just, it's just business as usual. No, it's not. There's a reason why they drafted J.J. McCarthy. There's a reason why Kevin O'Connell, when we had the back together, training camp special a couple weeks ago, he was effusive in his praise of this young man. You could see his face just kind of light up over how his leadership is even more than what they even thought it was going to be. His dedication to the craft, his actually showing that he could pick up this offense and really kind of, run with the opportunity. And you saw that manifest itself in the way he played on the field. Like, he made some brilliant throws in that game, man. Yep. Some brilliant throws. You saw just how excited Justin Jefferson was on the sideline when they had him mic'd up. I mean, everybody was geeked up about this. I think he was trending towards starting Week 1. So for it to not have him now and for it to be up in the air, like you don't know when he's going to be back on the field, that's just the worst. That's just the worst kind of thing. Now, does this mean that his career is going to be thrown off track? No, it doesn't mean all that. But the short-term emotional implications are it's a freaking gut punch. It just is, and there's no other way around it.
For a franchise that already had a tremendous gut punch, losing another rookie draft pick, Kyrie Jackson. This whole offseason has been so difficult for the Vikings. And JJ had provided in that little bit of time in that preseason game, they saw sparks of what could be, right? And you want to be happy for him because, okay, we know he's our future, but now you don't know when you'll have him.
Yep. Mike T, when I asked you to make a Week 1 prediction last week, you told me you predicted he was going to have a huge game in the opener against the Giants and show them that they were wrong not to have taken him when they chose to pass on him and instead took Malik Neighbors. So, again, you were a GM a long time. You've lived moments like this. What do we say?
Yeah, similar to Lewis, it's devastating for the organization. And just to build on what Lewis was saying, they loved him from a standpoint of the leadership. He would have walkthroughs every morning with the rookie skill players. That's really rare for a quarterback to show leadership from literally day one. And then we saw the tangibles against the Raiders. So what you hope, as Kmart said, is it's shorter than longer. We don't know on the medical until they actually go in there. I've been in that situation. You kind of hold your breath. And then move forward and say, hey, Sam Darnold, this is an opportunity, maybe one that we didn't expect, but now, the pen's back in your hand. What is this part of your career going to look like? Go write an unexpected great story in 2024, and whenever J.J. McCarthy is ready, now you have more depth at that position.
Yeah, stranger things have happened than Sam Darnold playing really well for this team, so we'll see what it is there. One other sidebar of this, obviously, the injury news is terrible news, and there's no That's a period, a new paragraph. There's also the question of how does this impact Justin Jefferson, because you may have your fantasy draft coming up today, tomorrow, this week, sometime very soon. What impact does this have on one of the most productive receivers in NFL history? Well, I texted Field Yates this morning. I did a little reporting for us here at Kmart.
Love it.
And so I asked Yates, what impact does this have? And he wrote back to me, less than you might think. Jefferson came back from the injury last year after Cousins got hurt. He's been down the path of questionable QB play. In the last 4 games of last season, he had at least 10 targets in all of them, had 2 finishes, at least the 7th best receiver, had 36 points in Week 18. Short version, he writes to me, he's too talented, the offense is too pass heavy and centered around him, and Sam Darnold is too average enough for him to fall far in fantasy value. He's still my wide receiver 5 overall. So that's out the fantasy impact of this from our fantasy experts.
Well, I think the only silver lining, if you can even call it that, which I can't, is that there's a reason to your point that JJ's on the roster, but there was a reason that they went out and signed Sam Darnold for 1 year. I think it was $10 million anyway, right? They signed him. So this isn't a situation like if Greeny's Jets lose Aaron Rodgers again. Knock on wood somewhere, right? If they lose Aaron Rodgers, it's a little different. Thank you. A little different. Yeah. It's a little different if Patrick Mahomes goes down. This was a situation where they had a young kid. They were going to bring him along, even if he might have been the starter. They have Sam Darnold in the fold.
I like Fields' wording. He's too average enough.
He's average enough.
What does that mean?
Sam, it means
he's decent. He's decent.
No, but you know what?
I hate to say it, Lewis. It means he's not Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
You know what? In all seriousness, I did have a prominent quarterback tutor tell me, look, and I think we all know how talented the young man is. But we know it's just not about talent and arm strength and, release quickness and all that. But again, this is another situation where I've been saying since the draft and even before the draft, when we talked about this, that Minnesota, because of their offensive line, running game, Kevin O'Connell, Josh McCown, the wide receivers, the tight end, this is the best situation for for any quarterback.
Yep.
So Sam has as good a situation here as he's ever had in his career.
Let's root for him, and we'll see what ends up happening. But again, the top story there, J.J. McCarthy down. We don't know yet how long it's going to be. Now, let's run.